Thomas Landry, Big Chief Geronimo Hunters. Well, it started off when the slaves, during slavery time, when the black folks would run away from their slave master, the Indians would take them in. And when they would get there and they learned the Indian ways, they treated them just like they was one of their own. And so as years passed, they had this thing on Sundays. They used to let the black folks go to Congress Square, and they would could dance and all this. And as after the they was freed, the blacks started dressing like Indians on Carnival Day to pay homage to the Indians. It was like their way of saying thank you. Some friends of mine was doing it, and I liked it, and I just tried it, you know, from a youngster. My first position was really nothing because it was a trail chief, which was the last Indian in the game. Then I went to third flag. I ran that for a couple of years. I went to second flag. Then I went to first flag. Then I ran first spy. I stayed there until I became second chief. I ran second chief until I brought my own gang, which was the Geronimo Hunters. I came up with the name because I was at Indian practice, and they had this movie out about Geronimo. And his chief Pepe, he called me out at the practice, and I didn't know a name, so I just said Geronimo because of the movie, and I put Hunters with it. And then from then on, it's been the Geronimo Hunters.
Static Spring, inspired by the Geronimo Hunters. The Indians mass with different tribes with the wild magnolias most of the time, then Geronimo Hunters. For now, going on about 15 years now.
Well, the big chief, you have second chief, sometimes third chief. You have scouts, you have chief scouts, if you have a big enough tribe, you know. And the whole thing is going from one stop to the other one, trying to find another tribe. When you meet another tribe, you dance with them and show your suit off. No, the chief gives out the positions. He tells whoever's in his gang what position they gonna run. And then from there you learn your signals. In the tribe, you start off with the spy. The first spy, he runs the gang just about. He goes from one spot to another. And in the meantime, he's trying to find another tribe.
Flag boy job was pretty much to receive the signals from the spy boy, and then send them back to the back of the game, throughout the rest of the game. That's what the spy boy, whatever the spy boy sends in the flag boy, just send it back to the back.
Gang flag, he'd be right in front to chief, and he relays the signal to the chief. He would communicate by throwing signals to each other. The spy will throw it to the flag send it to the next one, all the way back to the chief. You wait for the command from the chief to continue or turn off. You know, it's up to the chief if you want to meet a tribe.
Every year, we try to sew something new. Come up with another, either change the color on it, and make a bead, more patches. A new apron. Most people beat a new apron every year. I have beat a new apron, jacket, everything leading up for this next Mardi Gras for '08. trying to do a whole new suit. So.
You tear your suit down to what you could use and what you can't use. You use patches over. Your beadwork you don't throw away. You keep that, you switch it around. I usually make a new front. What was in the front, I put in the back. Other patches that you use, you take it off your suit, you use that for decoration to go in your ribbon in different places.
For a suit, basically starts off first with finding a picture that you like, a design, whatever, and sit down and either bead it. Uptown Indians, we do a lot of bead work, so you sit down and do a lot of bead work, and from there you do the stoning, putting the stones around it, around the patch, and then from there you start cutting out your various patterns, your aprons, your jacket, putting your material down, and then before you know it, you have a suit.
Put your brooches in it and all. We call these brooches. And then after that, you do your vest, a jacket, however you want. Some people do their shoes first. It all depends on the individual, you know. One of the last things you do is probably stick your hat. That's your crown. That means you're sewing your plumes down, or feathers, whichever, to your canvas to make the crown. And those consist of, like I said, plumes. You sew them down to the canvas, and then you string it by going through the center of the plume with a thread to hold them in place. And then you decorate it with narrow bow, fluffs, or plume tips. It all depends on how many hours you put in. There's no set, I couldn't say a set time, because I could sew tonight for an hour, next night I might sew 3 hours, you know. Then some nights you don't sew at all. It all depends on the time you have. Yes, it's heavy. But once you put it on and start walking, your body, you get accustomed to the weight. You know, it lightens up. You get used to it. To gluing? Well, that's not sewing. That's modern stuff, which is not, to me, that's not an Indian suit, you know. You got to sit down and stick your fingers a couple of times and do your sewing. Where gluing, that's nothing, you know. Which we do use glue at some things, you know, to put your bows down, and I'll put your narrow bow down. You got to glue there, but the rest of it is sewn.
Mardi Gras Day, I got myself an Indian game. I'm the big chief from the nation. Big chief of the wild creation. Gucci Mane, remember his name. Remember his game. He was the big chief of the
Best carnival I'll say we had as a group was the year they had the police strike. Because we was the main attraction. You didn't have, the parades wasn't rolling, so everybody came to see the Indians.
I think I'd say the last year I masked was my best year back in '97. Because I think when I stopped masking that year, I think I left at the top of my game that year. You know, with black and white, I think it was one of the better suits that I have put on ever did myself. So, worst memory have to be not being out there for the last 11 years. Had to be my worst memory. And wanting to be out there, just not being in town. But other than that, hopefully I'll make up for it this year though. These years I haven't been participating.
My first year I took sick and I didn't mask. But then the next year, since then, I've been masking. What, how much longer? Oh, I don't know, maybe a year or two. I'm getting old, give it to someone else. You know, I could turn it over to another person. Now, it used to be you give it to your first spy, but then that done changed now. You just do what you want to do, you know. If I won't give it to my nephew, I give it to him, you know.